Okay, we have a pretty cool Sky Included show. We both got the handshake gear on. Chango Unchained. She's heading up the DWeb Foundation and all these amazing initiatives. I was just talking about the ICANN session we had, or she was on with this panel. Like, I think it wasn't technically ICANN, right? But it was a
Alon
future.
was in.
Yeah, Alon from ICANN was there, and it was really awesome. There was like legal representation, like traditional Web 2. But yeah, I mean, everybody was really impressed with your presentation and representation. So thanks for coming on the channel today, Chango.
Of course. After that panel, it really illuminated how, like, ignorance, not the nicest word to use, but just people are really not well educated about this stuff. And so it was very apparent to me that people are conflating a lot of things that they shouldn't be conflating because they don't understand the fundamental technology stack underneath. So that's a big problem. And I anticipate that the work is cut out for us for the next 2 years, just of doing consistent education, like repeating the same talking points, just like pounding them over the head with the same stuff so that they finally understand what it is that's being built. Because a lot of this, the problem with them conflating it with, like decentral web and unstoppable domains is that they think it's on the same playing field when, any shitcoin that's in the top 1000 list could be launched with an ERC20 contract, but not all of them have the same properties as Bitcoin for good reason, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
it was difficult to explain that to the layman in a less than hour long panel.
yeah,
So, yeah, the hope is that they keep this series going so that we could keep educating them.
yeah. I like the host there. He's really a really good host. I think there's gonna be more sessions. So it's honestly, I think the most exciting to all of us in Handshake or whatever you want to call it, blockchain domains or Web3, even other projects, was that ICANN's recognizing it and is talking about it, right? The report came out. The Alan that was there on the panel had that PDF white paper, not white paper, but basically a research report from ICANN about blockchain domains. And I think that came out April 2022. And now it's nice to kind of see him and hear from him. But yeah, like tradition, I guess I was kind of what I expected was he is conservative and cautious and saying the biggest risk is the user confusion to the user, right? Like the end user that's trying to navigate to a website, or if he even used the example of sending funds on a blockchain to another recipient and sending it to the wrong person. So at least they are aware and educated and monitoring. I think that's the biggest news, because I felt like for years they were just ignoring. I think they were aware of Handshake and other projects, but they didn't really acknowledge them, I think, until 2022.
Yeah, the sending money to the wrong address too is also really, really difficult to mess up. So, like, even if there is a dot wallet collision at the TLD level with Unstoppable and Handshake, it's not like you could log into MetaMask or whatever extension that Unstoppable has, send money to a dot wallet address, and suddenly it appears in, like a Handshake wallet. It just doesn't work that way. So
True, true.
their argument flat when they try to make that argument because that's not really a risk.
Yeah,
There's no composability between the Handshake blockchain and Polygon and Ethereum, which
it's
Unstoppable is
true.
hosted on. So
It's
you
true.
really can't fuck that up.
Yeah, it's true.
It's
It's
like
true. Oh, go
and
ahead.
have it work on Handshake. So that's just like another point that they're just trying to add to their list of arguments to try and win a lawsuit.
Yeah, yeah, you're bringing up a good point, because I'm also talking to some of the people on Handshake side with the case of that, and they asked me, does this advertisement from Unstoppable have any holes? And what I noticed in Unstoppable's marketing is they don't talk about Ethereum. They just say send crypto, but they should say on Ethereum, right? There so many people just default to Ethereum being the blockchain or being an NFT, right? Like obviously you're doing amazing things in Cosmos ecosystem, but there's so many other like other blockchains besides Ethereum, and they just kind of default that Ethereum is the blockchain of sending money and NFTs, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of frustrating. So I pointed that out when they were talking to me about the conflict. I said they should say asterisks using the Ethereum blockchain, right? That's what they should
Yeah,
say.
it's not actually a domain name project. It's just human readable names for, Ethereum or whatever, addresses. It's just like public private key addresses. It doesn't have anything to do with domain names, except that it resolves to a unstoppable.io.
Yeah, I think
So there's not going to be name collision there, right? Because Donuts owns .io, and
true.
Unstoppable is a customer of Donuts. So
Well, they
it's not like a real collision.
they
Yeah.
said that they're a customer of blockchains. I've watched that panel you were on with. I know I mixed up the name, so I'll just say the Unstoppable rep. But yeah, I mean, he says his clarification was, no, we're not a protocol. We're a customer of blockchains. I remember that when JJ was asking him that question about the Light client, he says we're a customer of blockchains. So yeah, they're a customer of Ethereum, right? And they're a customer of IO domains on Web 2 to resolve, So I've been using that a few times lately. And I think that's
Yeah.
what
So it's
people,
a complete misnomer that they call themselves a top level domain name system.
so actually some videos I'm working on right now is instead of comparing Handshake to Unstoppable, I did a video lately of Unstoppable versus Impervious. We should make them, because Impervious is more equal as a registrar, is more equal to Unstoppable as a registrar. I think what we're confusing people, at least I have maybe, or maybe communities, we talk about Handshake as a protocol compared to a DApp, right? Like ENS is a DApp and a DAO, and Unstoppable is a customer of a blockchain, Ethereum, that has a registrar selling NFT words on a blockchain for wallet resolution, right? So we're comparing it's not apples to oranges. So people are so confused. So I can't wait. I think Impervious is going to be growing pretty fast soon. There's some stuff behind the scenes, I think, that's happening. And then as Impervious grows, of course, there's others, Help Namecheap does some decentralized domain solutions and others. That'll be the comparison to Unstoppable or to Decentralweb or to these others, because those are dApps using DAOs or using not even DAOs with Unstoppable, but, Handshake is a layer one blockchain proof of work, right? Like I'm not as experienced as you, but that's why I think we're confused. We or I or the community sometimes confuses people because it's not the same. It's just not the same. So I liked your Telegram and tweets. Of course, our buddy Brendan and Brave has a lot of engaging tweets. we poke him, and he replies to almost every single tweet himself, no matter what, almost no matter what. So there was this conversation that you had brought up about the importance of the root zone, and so I thought we could kind of use some of the talk today about that and about what Handshake is trying to do versus most of the other Web3 NFT word. I almost say they're just words on a blockchain that are associated to a wallet address. So I think we should just hopefully keep continuing. Like you said, we gotta keep I feel like we keep saying it over and over and over, but I guess that's our job to educate the market. But I think what you were saying about the importance of the root zone. Well, can you maybe fill us in for those that didn't hear that or read that?
Yeah, the realization that I had about where to draw the line in the sand when it comes to these name conflicts is really, really simple. So once you recognize that anything, even though it calls itself a top level domain name system with an alternate root zone that doesn't connect to anything, even though the marketing says that, by where do we draw the line in the sand? And that's if these TLD systems actually resolve via DNS, like traditional DNS.
Mm.
So the announcement that I made on the panel today was that a lot of these name service solutions like ENS, UD, Decentralweb, Solana name service and Polkadot name service, all of
Tezos,
that,
there's so many now.
yeah, they
There's
all
Ton,
reside
the
in Mars.
Telegram, the Open Network has one now. TON.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Ton might be a little. anyway, I need to look more into Ton to be able to speak to that. But all of the other ones that I just named, all they really are is just vanity names for complicated public keys, and that's it. So that's that. And transacting, me sending you some dot to your Polkadot domain, all it is I'm just able to send money in a more like streamlined way, in a more public fashion. But other than that, it doesn't actually have anything to do with domain names as we understand it. So
Exactly.
that's the distinction. And the line in the sand that I would draw is, does it resolve via traditional DNS? Not does it have many integrations? Like, does it resolve in the browser? That doesn't count, because as we know, you could just pay a boatload of money in the millions of dollars to get
Yeah.
those integrations. So it's
Yeah.
not merit based at all, and
Exactly.
in fact, the one that actually, the project that did the work of integrating in a backwardly compatible way with traditional DNS, but without the money, doesn't get the integrations. So
Isn't it unbelievable? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's pay to play with these integrations. So, the talking point of, like, oh, how many integrations do you have, and doing like a dick measuring contest with, quantity of integrations, that does not count. That is, on the other side of the line in the sand. To be able to pass the line and actually qualify as an alternative root zone, truly, by definition, you need to resolve a DNS. So that's the hill that I'm going to die on. I'm pushing for this definition. And
Yeah.
if I can't, everybody, gets on board with this definition, then it resolves a lot of the name conflicts that everyone is just like screaming about. Like what I noticed with going to, from between NamesCon and
Yeah.
now was, maybe 4 months. And what I noticed is everybody is just up in arms about this problem, that they just keep repeating this problem, but no one has a solution. And I come up with this solution hoping that it'll gain some steam. So let's see what happens
Yeah. I
in
like
a
your,
year.
I'm going for it too. Yeah, I'm trying to adapt that in the messaging. And, we had a Twitter space also yesterday. And I think people have to understand there's two different groups. There's using it as a wallet name and using it as a normal domain, right? So I think I think I brought it up, but I've watched that NamesCon panel 4 or 5 times now, the recording at length, and even sometimes I just watch some for fun. But what the UD guy said was, DNS is not an open. Didn't he say something like it's not an open protocol? And then JJ's like, it is a protocol, or he says it's proprietary. I remember there was just some confusion about what DNS was from Unstoppable Domains rep on that panel. I keep kind of rewinding and reading it and using it. That's why I started using a customer blockchains. But they seem to think like, oh, we're not trying to integrate with DNS. We're on a blockchain, Web3. Web3 is like IPFS
Yeah,
pins, right? IPFS, wallet addresses, sign in with Ethereum name, right? That's what
yes,
they think this stuff is. They don't even
but
think
that's
it's a
not
domain.
domain names. That's the thing. It's like we by entertaining this notion that they are domain names
It's
is a disservice to
it's
everyone,
true. It's a username.
because they are not domain names, right?
It's a user ID, right? I think it's like a
Yeah,
username.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So the term Web3 domain names has become bastardized for this reason. It has lost all meaning. So what I say when, these name services reside in Mars, that's what I mean. And
Yeah.
traditional DNS and the internet and Web2 resides on Earth. And just because you call yourself Web3 and that you think everyone should just like, somehow migrate over to you over in Mars without thinking about, oh, how do I build the ship to go in between
Yeah.
and like actually bring people to and from Mars safely. It's that's just you're just being lazy. Like that's being intellectually lazy. That's
True.
what I would call it. Right. So at least, in Cosmos, we're building an interchain name service.
Yeah, I
There's
saw.
a lot of, but we're honest that this is not a domain name solution. This is just vanity names for your public keys within the interchain ecosystem. You know,
I've
like
heard
that's
th-
that's all it does.
I've heard Angry Mouse. I think if he's like a developer in the community of both. He's on both Cosmos and the Handshake side as a developer. He says that he's talked to Stargaze, Shane, and they're gonna try to bridge them and get rid of the collisions. I don't know if it's totally public yet, but I've heard there's been already
To where? To
again, maybe need your help. I'm trying my best here, but I think they get the stars TLD from Handshake. Dot stars.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. So that's my point, right? If you're going to build other name system that doesn't where you don't build in the DNS integration, then the best thing to do is buy the name on Handshake and then sell subdomains off of it with you owning the Handshake TLD. Therefore, you are a customer and downstream of Handshake's DNS, like Handshake's root zone, right? So
Yep.
that is the ideal integration. If UD did that, if like ENS did that, like it would actually be Web3 and it would actually have, like the ship that transfers people to and from Earth and Mars.
Yeah.
And then therefore the work. That's the ideal setup.
I mean, luckily ENS domains, I think the way the Handshake was built was reserve.eth for ENS domains. And I think
Yeah,
Nick I
ENS
think
actually works on ICANN, so that's their whole thing. But for like UD and DecentraWeb, like .sol, those things they should just buy it or mint it on Handshake, and then
agree.
it's solved. Name collision solved.
Handshake Jesus, or well, he's kind of rebranded to Handshake Institute. He's always been gifting. I think just yesterday I saw him on Twitter. He bought and gifted WMT. I don't even know what project that is, but he gave me SwiftChain to gift to SwiftChain. I can't get that project's under problems anyway right now, but he's always trying to gift and bridge. I mean, that's what's always been impressive to me about Handshake is the gifting mindset, right? Not just squatting of names. Of course, there are squatters. We can't control everyone, but there's a good amount of people that want to really try to get it to the right end user. So it's awesome. And I did ask a question at the ICANN panel. I was hoping it didn't show up. I guess they have to approve it to show to everybody. But I said, when will ICANN claim ICANN and their coin on Handshake? That's a huge amount, and they still got a couple of years. I mean, but that's what I liked about the project. I'm just a normal user. Of course, now I'm trying to make content and other things. But when I compared, I saw Unstoppable and ENS when I was in the research phase. But I like that Handshake is trying to backward integrate into the web too. Like you said, connect Earth and Mars and build a spaceship rather than just try to burn down Earth and just everybody go to Mars. But I mean, some people are so scared of ICANN grabbing all of that and then what they would do. I don't know if you have a thought of that, but I mean,
Even if ICANN redeemed all that money, they can't do anything to hurt the security of the system because it's not proof of stake. They could dump the tokens, but there's enough baseline demand for everyone to just like buy that up. In fact, it would be good long term for the project because it circulates all that liquidity into the secondary economy. So
true.
even if they deemed it would actually be a net benefit for the project.
Great.
Which maybe that's a cause for them not redeeming it.
True. Yeah, they didn't pick my question. Of course, that was a pretty short panel. I mean, I think there's so much to cover. So I'm trying to think if I think we covered most of the basics, but I think as new naming protocols come, I mean, it seems like it's going to be the cash grab of 2023 is name.
Yeah,
I think you've
yeah.
been
From the
saying it
next
too, like
bull
it's the new
market.
ICO or it's the new way to,
Yeah,
yeah.
just like the bull market of last year, we had NFT summer, like DeFi 2.0, and we had like IBC season for Cosmos, and
Yeah.
so we had all these and still like residual effects of like the ETH killer, right, with like Sol and Avalanche. But then come the next wave, like NFTs are it's still gonna be NFTs. We're gonna have like IBC season 2.0, Cosmos, like the app chain thesis. That's gonna be huge. The other one is gonna be Web3 domain names, and so right now is the time to like position, right? Especially
It's
when
true.
there's so much fear in the market. It's just
It
like the
is.
best time to get in now.
It is crazy. Yeah. the time is now for sure. So, you know, we've just wonder, I mean, I guess we can start to wrap up, but so we're saying, I guess the way the narrative we should try to do within those supporting or Handshake is it's more of a DNS integration than a wallet address. Like I've answered people's
Yeah,
questions
yeah,
about Impervious. The way I say is like, oh, if you want it to work on MetaMask, you got to go to the smart contract with Impervious on Ethereum and get that whitelisted or integrated with MetaMask, not Handshake integrated with MetaMask. You got to get that smart contract
yeah,
on Ethereum into
yeah,
MetaMask.
yeah. There's no way to bridge Handshake to Ethereum without some intermediary bridge solution. And MetaMask is not a bridge.
Yep. Yep. So, and then also I'm excited to bridge more with Cosmos. I'm also involved in those various projects there. And I know others in Handshake are. And that's the beautiful thing that I like about Handshake is it's not just this Ethereum only. We also talked about OFAC yesterday, and it's scary. I don't want to bash Ethereum. I do appreciate what they've done, and that I do appreciate it, but it is scary what's happening just in a few months with the merge. I don't know if we want to carry it into that too much, but that seems like a censorship threat to all Web3 domains on Ethereum.
Yes and no. I mean, to the decentralization maxi, it certainly is, and it really hurts the idea that Ethereum is decentralized when it really is not, especially as it has moved towards more centralization, not less over time. So yeah, I don't think I think that Ethereum will be, okay to newcomers who are used to sanctions and like, banks and KYCs, like the laggards of
Mhm.
the technological adoption life cycle. But to the maxis, it's just not. Yeah, Ethereum is effectively dead in from that lens.
I'm feeling this similar as I go down this rabbit hole. And is there any other points you want to add to this? It's been fast. Thanks again. I'm really happy. We're gonna do HandyCon next year again. We've been doing the auctions. It's been cool to help the community. Maybe there's also things I want to share more. There's a lot happening behind the scenes. Maybe after the recording, I could share some things, or we could share openly if you want to. I don't know. That's the tricky thing is with these Web2 companies. I got in trouble with this Brave stuff last year about it seems like these integrations are all back behind closed doors, right? Like they're just centralized companies making contracts and signing NDAs and making payments.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
A lot of it is.
it's so pure. Handshake is just like we've chatted about. I think you said it in your ICANN panel. It's it's one of the only truly decentralized leaderless projects, after Bitcoin and others. But of course, that makes it so hard. It's not like Bitcoin at the early days. The environment is not the same, so it is a challenge, And then we also got these browsers and these integrations wanting cash up front, So it's a different kind of battle than maybe the early days of Bitcoin, but I don't know. Trying our best here.
I
And
mean, look, people ultimately do not give a damn about decentralization until something really bad happens. It's like the same with Bitcoin. Like the thesis that Bitcoin is digital gold is still playing itself out even after it's been live for over 10 years. So, people still do not look at Bitcoin as an inflation hedge. But when hyperinflation sets in, the only thing they could turn to is Bitcoin. And that it's
mm,
going to be a very, very hard lesson learned for people who did not prepare for that moment. And for people who did prepare, and if hyperinflation doesn't happen, well, they've a pretty good, decent speculator anyway. Same thing for Handshake. It's like no one's going to care about it until there's just mass censorship. And, given the trajectory of the world right now, censorship is a very useful tool being wielded by the power centers of the world, by
it's
many
scary.
superpowers, including, totalitarian governments.
Yeah.
So, right? Like the moment people cannot use the internet, the web 2 that they're used to using, that's when Handshake really rises up.
Yeah,
When
there's
people
one cool story
option.
I'll add that maybe you'd like to hear. I don't know if, during the Shanghai lockdowns, one of my friends he's a Chinese, a very well educated, English speaking Chinese born entrepreneur, from the startup ecosystem. And I met him in Shenzhen. Actually, I was speaking about Amazon. I'm still an Amazon seller by day trade, but we were chatting at my meetup and he was complaining about the lockdown. He was stuck in his apartment for 3 months, maybe more like over 2, but almost 3 months. And they even had shortage of food. They had to like pay way too much money. Like the guards had to like sneak them extra vegetables for like huge premium. And this is not bullshit. This is directly from my friend I've known for like 8 years, local Chinese person. And they had videos complaining to guards. They posted on WeChat, on Weibo, delete all, I think you understand. They delete all of it. So they started to learn about IPFS and they uploaded it to IPFS and they couldn't get deleted. So he's now sold on decentralization. I mean, I told about Handshake, but I guess obviously Handshake could be an easy human readable name of IPFS, which is what even Sabapol uses and others, where any kind of blockchain naming solution could point to an IPFS pin. But, he was sold on it and he wants to study it more. This was just a couple months ago before I left China. But yeah, like you said, like you don't notice this until it starts happening to you. And still your tweets get deleted, your accounts get deleted, your websites gets restricted, even worse, somebody comes to your door because they know your name and your location and what you say, and then they use that against you. These people, a lot of people still don't see this happening, but I see this all the time, Django, like forever. And then even on the other side, my Facebook accounts, I've gotten Facebook accounts shut down. I've gotten Twitter accounts shut down because I have multiple accounts. I'm black hat because I have multiple different businesses and they say, oh, you violated our terms of service. You violated our IP. You shared this account with your team. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to be the only person operating this account. You don't let me share my account. So you just ban me? They say, they notice, so you got to get tricky with like VPSs and VPNs and fingerprints and proxies and all this crap because it's their system. It's not you. Their content is you upload that baby photo with your kid. You think it's safe on Facebook? Man, they delete that. They delete your identity. They delete your content. That's what I believe Handshake and Web3 is supposed to be, or that, it's supposed to be, I have confidence in what I create will stay mine. Web2 it cheated us. They just took all of our content, put it into their system, sell me ads, sell my data, and then delete me if they don't like me. It's unbelievable. That's why
Yeah, and I'll take it even one step further. What happens if one of those CSAM cryptography hits a false positive, right? There's a story recently where a man calls a doctor on demand, and he needs to show the injury that his son had. The injury happened to be on his son's gonad area, so he took a picture of it to show the doctor, right? And that was on his phone, and it's like an Apple phone. Immediately it hits CSAM detection, the child sex
Oh
trafficking
no.
automatic detection, hits a false positive, goes into Apple's database. Apple remotes into his phone, and then just like shuts everything down. And then suddenly you're banned from your iCloud or Gmail, whatever. It's just this like unilateral power once they
True.
just detect something wrong, and then
Yeah.
boom, you're like off the internet. You have no way to interact on the internet after something like
Yeah.
that, even if it's completely innocent.
This you got me thinking. I mentioned this before recording. I'm selling this on Kickstarter right now. It's like a baby monitor. I got banned on Facebook ads twice on this account. I have to keep making new ad accounts because one time my credit card maxed out. I don't want to have an unlimited credit card on Facebook ads because Zuckerberg's just milking my money as much as he can. So I don't let him have like my unlimited credit card. So we updated the balance because so it flags their AI. Their AI looks at it. They see a picture of a baby. They ban the account. because they say you're targeting children. It's against our
Yeah.
terms of service. We're not targeting children. We're targeting parents that have children that want to use a product to help, you know, you use technology or use this tool to help improve the way they don't care. There's nobody that replies. They don't
Yeah,
care.
exactly. Yeah, you just lost your account.
Yeah.
You're off.
So you got to make another account. You got to be like all shady because they banned you and they don't care. And there's no way
Yeah.
to, yeah, it's just
It's
unbelievable.
just the same as with when you go to a bank, they treat you like a criminal if you withdraw anything over $10,000.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like they interrogate you over how you want to use your own money.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with your online identity, which is why we need decentralized infrastructure.
Exactly. All right, Django, this has been
And QD
okay.
doesn't solve that. Decentralized doesn't solve that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been following Decentraland a little bit more lately. They've been pushing a bit on marketing, but they have a co-founder CEO. Like I don't want to be a follower of. I don't want to be involved in the next ICANN. I don't want to be in the Web3
Yeah,
ICANN. I
that's
don't want the
that's
Web3.
arguably more centralized.
What was that, Django? Sorry, I cut a little bit your answer.
Oh, I said they're arguably even more centralized than I can because
Mm,
now companies rather than people in like a board that's on ICANN
it's true. And then,
and
oh, go ahead.
in how you get on board.
Exactly. It's so fun. I still love it with Handshake Telegram group. People are asking like, who do I pitch for a proposal and we have all these admins that are just people some people are totally anonymous admins, just like they're just like there's nobody to propose to, but they're so used to these centralized new blockchains that just have money and there's some team and the team has a budget and they pitch the budget and the budget they get this token or whatever. So, that's still what I get a kick out of that still.
I mean, unfortunately, that has become the industry norm, and even working on Cosmos, the same thing happens, right? It's just these backroom deals, and you're talking to some other people, and you know, on the outset, it doesn't look like you're pulling the strings, but behind the scenes, like someone's definitely pulling the strings to make these things happen and like paying the money, right? Sounds like a shady backroom deal, but unfortunately, that's the state of the industry right now, which is
Mm-hmm.
why newcomers look at Handshake and they're like, why don't you have a foundation? Why is there no team that I could talk to? I feel uncomfortable because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. There's a good and a bad, but I'm still very positive. I know it's the bear market and it's a little scary for everyone. But I still believe it's gonna work long term. So thanks for coming on, Django. Let's keep pushing, fighting a good fight. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay.